Happy 2025. You might be getting this video in the afternoon, but that's okay because, I mean, you know, life. But I am filming it on the morning of January 1st, 2025. That is crazy. I feel like 2024 was just yesterday. Girl, 2024 was a wild ride, baby. But if you're new here, I am Brooklyn Brooke Bell, aka Felicia, and welcome to my little corner of the internet, or welcome back to my little corner of the internet, where, you know, I am a 35-year-old grad student who up and quit her job in September and has been unemployed ever since. I start my second semester at Columbia Teachers College in a few weeks, which I'm really super excited about. Yeah, so that's just a little bit about me. If this is your first video, welcome to all of my new friends. Shout out to the old homies in the chat if you've been rocking with me for a while. We made it to another year, y'all. We made it. We made it. And that feels good. That feels good. It feels good. Whew. We're doing it, y'all. We're getting the things done and we're doing the things. Okay. So this is my favorite video to make every year. I will not keep you guys for 45 minutes like I did for the last video. That was outrageous, y'all, and I'm so sorry. This one is going to be really quick. You've probably seen some of these books. You probably heard about some of these books. I'm just here to tell you why I like the book and if you should read it. Well, if it's on this list, you should read it, okay? This is my favorite books of 2024. I read a lot of mid books last year. No tea, no shade, right? Like, we all just have to keep it a buck. Last year was not my favorite reading year, and I think that's why I was just so very, like, kind of in and out. You know, I'm reading, but I'm not. But these 24 books, they caught my eye out of the 183 books that I read last year, and I wanted to share them with you all. So let's hop right in. First, numero uno is going to be A Love Song for Ricki, Wilde by Tia Williams. This book needs no fanfare. This book was written wonderfully. Like, the way that Tia Williams incorporates New York into her books as characters, I think is why I love her as an author so much. As a transplant from the South to the North, I moved to New York specifically. I didn't want to live anywhere else. Yeah, Tia is one of my favorite people who writes about New York. And so in A Love Song for Ricki Wilde, it is a love song and an ode to jazz and Harlem and old world Harlem. And this this adult moves to New York and she meets this mysterious man. She has this kooky neighbor who is my favorite character in the book. Shout out to Miss Della. And yeah, and then they go on this kind of like magical, surreal whirlwind of a love, and their love might, or you know, needed to break a curse or something, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and again, shout out to our romance authors who are now dabbling in a little paranormal romance. That was the most delightful part of the book. I found myself crying in my shower at the end, and no other book last year made me cry the way that this book did, and I have recommended this book to everyone. It's my favorite book, and it probably is my favorite book in the last 5 years. I ain't even gonna call you a big child. Okay, yep, that's it. I said it. I said the thing. Okay. The next book on my list is Burry the Hatchet by Aria Daze. If you follow me on any socials, I fuck with Aria. I fuck with this author heavy. Also, if you're new here, I curse and I drink champagne. It's dry January. That's the only reason why I don't have my liquor with me today. And it's also 10 o'clock in the morning. That's a whole nother story. But I curse here. And my mother was like, she was here last week. She was like, you know, you cuss on your social media a lot, and someone is going to want to hire you for a job. And then I'm like, I don't cuss at work. I cuss at home. But I fuck with Aria. So, right. So, Burry the Hatchet was one of my favorite books. It happened in Birmingham, Alabama. Aria, I don't know where you're from, but I fuck with the fact that you fucking with places that I like, of course, or that I'm from. Like, Rudy was from New Orleans, and now they're in Birmingham. I'm like, wait a minute, we got a little connection I ain't know about. But I really loved Burry the Hatchet because it was a marriage of convenience. The two characters did have to get married because their families were trying to combine their real estate businesses, but they had known each other like their whole lives, and so it was kind of like a Love Jones, I mean, not Love Jones, but a Love and Basketball start. Like, he pushed her when they were a kid and she could never wear like heels, and like it was this whole thing. But then there's a secret about the marriage and this drama. Now she mad at her daddy, y'all. And also, if you're new here, I like mess. I love mess. I really love it. And Burry the Hatchet brought all the mess that I needed. But again, the male main character, he was like unhinged and country. Like, I fuck with that. I like that a lot. Okay, the next book on the list, that was one of my favorite books last year, is Deja Breu by Celestine Martin. Shout out Celestine, hey girl. So this book takes place in Freya's Grove, and it's the third book in this series. And our kitchen witch has lost her magical touch in the kitchen, and she goes to a Halloween party where she bumps into this magician, and she's like, it's like the worst day ever. And so she goes home and she does this magical spell, and she gets to start the month of October all over again. So she gets a double dose of cozy, but she gets to do it with the magician from the party, and their magic, or their love, is so magical. They like be setting off sparks and shit and stopping time. This is the spiciest book in the series, but it's also like my favorite. I don't know if it's the orange cover. I don't know if it's the magician. I don't know. But Celestine put her big toe in this little pumpkin spice, okay? And it literally, I was so excited for this book to come out. And then I got an early copy, and then I got to go meet her and now have a signed copy, and I'm obsessed. I hope we go back to Freya's Grove, but if she's done with that, that's cool. But she is an auto-buy author for me, and can't nobody tell me nothing. Okay. All right, next book on the list is A Love Like the Sun by Rhys M. Neilson. And y'all, so short story, even though I'm really pushing through these. Short story, Rhys was the first arc that I was ever given. Oh my goodness. Deep in Providence was the first book. It was the first arc that I ever received, like, as a creator on TikTok. And it was like a full circle moment, because this year I went to Steamy Lit Con and I actually got to meet her, and I got to tell her that. I was like, so this is gonna be so weird, but you were my first arc. Like, I was totally a fangirl. And her energy, if you ever meet her, is so like effervescent and just bright and light. And then you're meeting the big hair. Like, oh, she's such a sweetheart, and she's such a great writer. Like, overall, she's an amazing writer. And A Love Like the Sun had it had a medical condition rep. The young lady was suffering like a serious medical condition, and she ends up in a fake dating trope with her best friend, who's like a really popular content creator, and he is like flying back and forth from like Cali to Providence to like help her mom in her natural hair care store, like, boom. And their love is like, oh, I don't want to be cheap. It's like the sun. Like, it was warm, it was comforting. Like, he was so supportive and caring and thoughtful, and like, you could tell that neither of them really wanted to like break or step across that line for them to like fall in love. But when they both trusted it, it was like the sun just shot out of the two of them. Like, that's literally how it feels. Like, it's literally warmth on the page. And it was another one that kind of made me tear up. I ain't gonna hold you. I wasn't crying in the shower like with Love Song for Wilde, but this one, it does tug at your heartstrings. And I do think that Rhys M. Neilson is an author to like look out for. She has 2 books out, and hopefully she'll be giving us some new books this year, girl. Come on. Okay, so the next book on the list was by Holt. Cammy had me crying on TikTok about this book, and she didn't have to do all that. But Make Me a Promise is a second chance romance as well. And the woman in the book, she goes off to be a singer, but she's really run off by her guy friend's family over some foolishness. And then she comes back, and he's like a pastor now, but she's a worldly singer and like all of this. And it's church secrets, it's church mess. But I will say the male main character was the epitome of not my wife, not my family, right? And And I think that that's important for us to see that, right? I think it's important for us to see Black men standing up, especially in spiritual spaces, to be like, hey, actually, what you did when we were kids was wrong, and it has no bearing on who she is now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who she is now is the woman that she has fought to be, and who you were was bullshit. And I loved their dynamic. I loved how they were a team. And he really looked out for her. He really loved that girl hard, and that was really, really beautiful to see, and necessary. It was great. I loved it. Okay, the next book on my list is Rudy Jones's New Year's Resolution by Aria, Daze. Aria, you sprinkled all through this list, girl. Hey, girl. Okay, Rudy Jones was one of the first. Was it? No, I read Rudy Jones in February of this year, so it was not one of the first books I read. But do you know what I was doing until 3 o'clock this morning? Reading Rudy Jones. Listen, he big. Okay, he country from the South. I like that. He wears flannel shirts and Levi's jeans, if you get what I'm putting down. Okay, and Rudy woke up and was like, I need to get my wife back. They got married really young, and they both kind of contributed to the demise of their marriage, but they own this cabin together, and they both end up there on the same day over the holiday. Noah's trying to finish her dissertation for her doctorate in physics, and Rudy shows up because he's like, I want my wife back. That's it. That he had one track mind, baby. And so Rudy, it's unsuspecting, but it's nasty. So I'm just gonna give you that heads up now. If you go read it, it's nasty in the best way possible, because you know that's his wife or whatever. But I love Rudy Jones. I will probably read it again next year. It's gonna be my New Year's book every year. I just feel like that's what it's gonna be. Okay, the next book that I read was Storm, Dawn of a Goddess, Tiffany D. Jackson. I lied. I had books that made me cry this year. This was one of them. So this is an origin story prequel for Storm as we know her in the Marvel Universe, not the MCU like in the movies, but more so in the comics. And we find Aurora in Egypt in a band of thieves, and she starts having these bouts of like powers that kind of are erratic, and she doesn't really know what to do. And so there are people who kind of gravitate towards her, and they're like, hey, I want to help you. Hey, I can help you. And we're all like, whoa, 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 until she meets a young man on kind of like a sowing his royal oats kind of thing. He's like on this like adventure to see Africa on a motorcycle. Y'all, why is T'Challa? And they're both teenagers, and it's like a coming of age. But this is one of those, this should actually be a movie. If this was the movie we had gotten in the MCU of how Storm and T'Challa got together, I would be cool. I would be like, this makes sense in my brain. So but it's very reminiscent of a Black woman finding her power, but then also defining how that power is used and how she decides to go through the world. And that was actually really super beautiful, and it did actually have me tearing up. Shout out to Tiffany D. Jackson. The next book on the list is The Secret World of Maggie Gray. If you have not heard about this book, you're living under a rock, or maybe you just don't read Black indie authors, and that's unfortunate. I do think that you should. What are you doing? Okay, stepping down off my soapbox. Back to the secret life, the secret world of Maggie Gray. We meet Maggie, and she is finding out that there is a hidden HBCU in a pocket dimension where vampires, witches, sirens, and werewolves and other magical people beings live under the kind of leadership of this group of people called the First Family, who, if you bear anything white, so like think Rogue with her white strip of hair or white eyeballs or something, right? Like they have one birthmark that is completely white. Maggie comes in with a head full of white hair, and no one knows how she's related to them. They're not claiming her. She don't know these motherfuckers. Everybody confused. But she goes to this school, and what I like about this this school, and I think I said this when I was discussing my books that I'm looking forward to, is that in this world, these are not children, right? So you go to Drew Collins, yes, because Cayman is in Blood of the Root. Okay, sorry. You go to Drew Collins and you could be there for 20 years because your life expectancy is so long. So you find more adults at this university, like not like teenagers into their 20s, more like 20s into your 30s, which I thought was really awesome. Maggie has a sword affair with a werewolf. We don't know what's gonna happen, but we're 2 books in. The next book comes out at the end of this month, so now would be a great time to start if you're looking for a little fantasy magical situation. All right, the next book on my list is Finding My Bodyguard and Dr. London. He secreted one of his patients to Cuba, and he may or may not have built her a library. That's a king right there. That's a king right there. Woo! Y'all. So Finding My Bodyguard by A. Blossom. He is a surgeon. She is in an arranged marriage, and her husband is making her get plastic surgery. And he's like, I don't do plastic surgery because someone is making you do it. Like, what the fuck is this? And he ends up secreting her away, not knowing that she is a part of the same criminal organization that his family is a part of. And so, of course, chaos and mess ensues, and y'all, it gets good. It was really good. I like that one. I liked it. Okay, the next book that I read was Snowed In with Sin by Aurora Lillard. And Sin is a frost fairy. She's a fairy. She a food fairy? She does something with food. Oh, she can infuse her food with emotions. And so people often think that she's like trying to like manipulate them. Frost is a polar bear shifter. And this is a second chance romance. And I've never read anything by Aurora, but I will say I will be looking out to see if she has anything. So it is like paranormal romance. They are shifters. She is a fairy, like, her hair is blue. They're so cute. But they go away for like a winter, a Christmas in like the mountains, and everyone acts up. Everyone acts up on the trip. These 2 people just trying to fall in love. Everybody out here acting up on the trip. The kids is acting up, stealing stuff from snow leopards. Ice queens is having to come and like beat everybody ass. Like, it was a lot going on. But I will say that, kind of like Deja Breu, this one is more Christmassy, that one's more Halloween, but very cozy, very light. That's my woman. Don't do too much. I'm a shifter. I can eat you. I like that. I do. That's the kind of chaos I like, honestly. Okay, the next book on my list is Dragon Fruit by Micaiah Lucier. Listen, one of my goals for 2025 is to make sure I can pronounce people's names before I get in here in front of y'all, because that's unfortunate. But this book is one that I did talk about all year, and I don't think that we have had a magical system like this. So it takes place in the Pacific Islands, and the people in this world want dragon eggs, because if you can get your hands on a dragon's egg, then you can reverse something that bad that has happened in your life. But you do that at the expense of something or someone in your life. And so the queen in this world was put under a spell, she and the main character. And the main character's father stole a dragon egg. She was able to wake up. The queen has not woken up. And so she was basically cast out of this society because of what her father did. But she becomes a dragon hunter. And so she takes it on more so not in like a roguish brute way. She understands dragons on like a cellular level. and fights really hard for the dragon hunters not to kill the dragons, because it's like, if you kill all of them, what are we gonna have? And so she meets back up with a guy that she was friends with when they were children, and they kind of go on this quest of like hunting these dragons, and she's teaching them about the dragons, and it's really beautiful. What stands out about this book is their familiars are actually, think like Polynesian tattoos, like the grandmother in Moana with her her stingray tattoo on her back, but their animals, their familiars can come off of them. And so her familiar was real kick-ass, and it was like the first of its kind. Oh, it's a really interesting world. And you know, on this page we do support not just Black authors, but biopic authors, you know what I mean, like the iopic, you know. So yeah, so I say give it a try. Step out of your comfort zone. This book was very well written and very captivating. The next book that I read was Come and Fall in Love, an erotic novel by Kay Shanae. This is a Kay Shanae stand account. She put a book out. I'm reading it the day of. I've said that for years. I haven't changed. I'm a creature of habit. And Kay gonna write a nasty book, and I kind of like that. And so in this one, our leading lady finds out that her man is cheating and he ain't shit, and she goes to an Omega party, and she meets her, or she sees her best friend's brother, who she hasn't seen in a long time. They have a one-night stand. Turns out he too is an Omega like her ex, and mess ensues. I like mess. I like a little mess. Now, the fact that Kay is using real organizations is crazy, but I don't care. She don't care either. Clearly, she put it, but she didn't portray them in a bad light. And actually, I think the dynamic of being in the Divine Nine and being like, you dated your frat brother's ex is an interesting one on paper, because people in real life don't do that very well. Okay, moving on. The next book on the list, Hathor and the Prince by J.J. McAvoy. So think Bridgerton, but with Black people. And I have really loved the Dubelle series. I've gotten every one of the books as arcs, and so I've been able to read them very early. And this one actually is my favorite, because Hathor and her little prince were a hoot, actually. They were entertaining, more so than the other two books. She is a very like straightforward, I have a list, I want a prince, this is what I want. He is very unserious. And they meet each other, and they actually don't like each other. But then later down the line, years later, her mom's like, a prince is coming. And Hathor is all excited, child. She's like, I'm gonna give me a prince. I got a list, da 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 da. And it turns out to be the guy that she doesn't like. So of course, that's the tension, right? That's the pain point between our two lovers. And the way that they find their way to each other is very cute and very old world, and it was a joy to read. You see the smile, like I loved it. It was great. Okay, the next book is The Personal Librarian by Marie Benedict and Victoria C. Murray, and I love a good historical novel. J.J. McAvoy was historical fiction. This one is based off of a true story. It follows the personal librarian of J.P. Morgan, and Belle DaCosta was passing. What more can I say? Listen, at the time, during this point in time, people were making the decision, and her father was actually like an activist heavy in the Black community here in America in real life, and he did not approve of his wife using or choosing that their family was going to be white on paper so that her children could have opportunities. And so he left her, and she raised her kids here in New York after she made that decision, and Belle went on to actually be the librarian of J.P. Morgan. And so she helped curate his personal library and find all of these special manuscripts, and she would have to go like to auctions and different things and like bid for him, and he gave her like his wallet, carte blanche. He was like, whatever it takes, I trust you, you know what you're doing, go get my books. It's an interesting story, because this woman could not fall in love. She could not have children because she would not want her secret of her passing to come out. And so it's sad. It's also a very, like, her mother made a very, very interesting choice. Like, they couldn't go see their family. Read the book. I like the book. I think it's a sad story more so than like a heroic one or something that I would want to see someone else do, like, you know. But the fact that she did it and, you know, someone told her story, I think is amazing. Yeah. Okay, so next book, Roomy Lover Friend by Sean. So you getting put out your apartment, but a fine man see you and is like, you know what, actually I need a roommate. Mess ensues, y'all. Mess ensues. Yes, she moves in with this guy who she actually got a little crush on, but that doesn't come until later. But he has a crush on her. Like, he's plotting. He is plotting on her. And mess ensues. Listen, I don't remember a lot about the story, but I remember that I liked that he was there for her and how helpful he was, and they have some real nasty sex in the book, and I appreciate that. Yeah, that's what I appreciate. That's what I remember. But I do think the story was good. I asked the page turning homies, I was like, was the story good? And they were like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Sometimes you just gotta be honest, and that's what I remember. Okay, the next book is Captivated by Granger, and this one also eludes me, but I do remember that this brother Diesel was my favorite out of the three. So you remember when these books were like blowing up, everybody was like, the Danger Brothers, oh my god, the Danger Brothers, you know, and everyone's really excited. They're all like doms. I think one's a dom and a sub, like it was the whole thing. But that middle brother, it was something special about Diesel. It was something special about Diesel. I think I need to read it again. But what I do remember was being like, nah, them other two, y'all can have him. That one in the middle, he the one. What happened? Oh, her cousin and like her partner ended up together. Her mom and them were like, you need to be happy for them. They having a baby. Excuse me? I'm not happy for these people. And then she ends up in a dom sub contract with him, and he is just very like to the point. Okay, but he like gets her into like school, into like working on her degree so she could be a teacher. Yeah, I liked him. Get me away from this craziness and this foolishness, and we gotta do that by having a dom sub contract. Let's do it. Like, you know, yeah, that one was good. Okay, and I think he's on my book bows of the year. Okay, the next book was Black Girl in Paris by Shay Youngblood, and this follows a young artist as she goes on an adventure in Paris in the 70s or 60s, I think, late 60s, early 70s, and she's trying to like connect with her like artistic muses, and so she goes there. She has no money, she has no job, and she lives the struggle artist life. But the thread of the book is that you have to be in the place for the thing to occur. And so I think her getting to Paris to be able to go on these adventures and meet these people was kind of the thread that led to her meeting like her muses and these people that she went there seeking. It was a good one. It's not a warm and fuzzy book. It's just, you know, it's a very surreal, real portrayal of someone who wants something so bad that they're willing literally to put themselves in a struggle to go and find it. And I think artists are always those people who are willing to take the risk and do the thing to get the thing, if you get what I mean. And so yeah, I really liked Black Girl in Paris. Whew, okay, y'all. So we have reached the portion of my list. This is our DEI submission, okay? Because here, you know, we like to make sure that there's an even playing field. And so I did read a few white heterosexual women authors this year, and one of them happened to make the list. I'm excited about this, y'all. We're showing real strides at diversity here, okay? Everyone's included. Huh, you can all have a chance, okay? If you don't get my humor, I don't care. I just wanted to also say that because my books be black, biggity black all year. And so, yeah, it's my page. I do what I want. Okay, and so the book that I read was Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Margaret, and I actually really enjoyed this. This is a fantasy book where it's a fantasy novel, and I'm laughing because it's actually comedic. So this started from a young lady having a TikTok page where she was the assistant to like a heinous villain, and she brings him coffee in the morning. He has a frog that sits on his desk that like holds up signs, but he's also carting in 30 bodies that they have to like catalog and clean and get rid of and disembody and all this kind of stuff. And so it's actually it's not that kind of dynamic. He is the mean villain and she is his assistant, and she's like, what painting can I put up? I know you just murdered 3 people, but I was looking at paint swatches. Like it's comedic relief. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it is so funny. Okay, I haven't read the second book, but I am really looking forward to the second book, and it was a delightful read. It really was. I really hope she doesn't come out as problematic, because then I'll have to give this little series up, and I really enjoy it. Okay, the next book on the list is One for the Team by Aria Daze. This is a why choose romance where all 4 of the people are involved, and if that's a bit much for you, oh well, it wasn't for me. I liked it. Our leading lady is a mascot for a hockey team. Are the hockey teams hiring? Like, do they need a dancer? Wow, okay. And 3 of the hockey players live together and are in a relationship together, the 3 guys, and they choose her as their 4th. And yeah, I don't think I need to say much else, but it was great. It was great. And Aria, you snuck that in at the end of the year, girl. You really slid that one in there. Okay, last day of the year. Made the internet go woo. Okay, next one on my list is 1201 by Bella J. This is the first book that I read this year. Actually, not Rudy, but this one. And this one was a hot fucking mess. So the girl's man ends up leaving her for like his best friend or something, you know, and she messes up that wedding with a bat. Okay, she comes in there, she fucks that wedding the fuck up, and I ain't even mad at sis. Like, I think emotional distress should be taken more seriously in the courts, because I do think people really push you too far. Like, you've pushed me too far, and yes, I came to fuck up your wedding with a bat, but maybe I should get off. Like, you know what I mean? So her ex's brother comes and bails her out, and is like, I'm bailing you out. I'm telling the people that it wasn't that bad, but you have to come with me. And he like secrets her away to this private event. It's like a sex weekend or something at a hotel, and then they end up like really falling for each other. And his brother is not happy. Neither is his family, but who cares? Because he lied to me and he got with this girl, and now I'm with your brother. That's right. If a man don't act right, take his brother. I like that. It's the kind of energy we need for 2025, because clearly we're gonna need it. Okay, I don't know why my nose is like deciding to now. Okay, so the next book on my list is Blood at the Root by Ladarian Williams. This was a dumpster fire online, watching this book come out, watching how this author interacts online. And I'm not here to defend the author. Actually, I do not like going back and forth with people on the internet. And this book, I got into like my first back and forth with somebody, and it was very clear that people only read what they want so they can respond. I don't do that. I try to be very thoughtful in how I respond to people. In this book, I think was a hit or miss for some people. And I'm just going to say the quiet part out loud. It was a hit or miss because this author chose to use the language that is spoken by people in Helena, Alabama. Now, the quiet part is that some Black people look down on country folk. They look down on how people from the South talk because it seems ignorant. It seems da-da-da-da-da. And these are the things that were said. I'm not making it up. And being a country girl from Alabama, I took offense. I don't like the book just because he's from Alabama. I think that he took time to preserve how people where he's from actually talk, specifically the teenagers who have their own language. And this book was for teenagers. Sorry. So this book follows, I think his name is Malik, and he is having bouts of power that he cannot control, and he ends up finding out that he has this very immense magical lineage at Cayman University, which is also a magical HBCU in another pocket dimension that you have to get to and things. And he is trying to find out any and everything that happened to his mother, and he meets this very like magical menagerie of classmates who I actually really love. They're so young, so black, like, and so in your face about it. And I think because sometimes in the public eye, we temper it down, Ladarian chose not to. And I actually really appreciate him for that. Like, and it turned out to be a bestseller. Like, again, I am not defending anything that Ladarian said online. Ladarian is very loud and active on the interwebs with everybody, and I don't really get into that. But I do think that we have to hold space for this book being specifically written for black boys, and specifically for black boys in Alabama. They understood the language. I understood the language, and I'm not looking my nose down at it. And I just hope that in 2025, we can wrap it up, because it was a good book. Wrap it up. Okay, the next book is Entangled by Sula Sullivan, and I also really enjoyed this one. This is a Rapunzel retelling with black characters. Get into it, y'all. So she has like a knight that has to like come and get her and like help her go prepare to become the queen, because she has been getting visions and prophecies like braided into her hair, because she has this really long hair. And so he comes and he like helps her with the hair, and he also crochets, like, oh my gosh, just so soft. And like they really bond over her natural hair and his hair. You know the story of Rapunzel, like she lives in a locked away tower, and it's like the whole thing, and it was so good. I really love this one. Please give this one a try. Okay, the next book on my list is A Little Kissing Between Friends by Chinsia C. Huggins. And y'all listen, it's a music producer and a stripper. And the music producer, I remember her name was Big Papa, and I really like that. Her name was Big Papa, and what was her name? Why can I not remember? Oh, it was Big Papa and Juicy. And they are like besties, but like they got a little tension. But it's a slow burner. Y'all know I don't really like a slow burn. And I thought lesbians had like U-Hauls. Like I thought y'all move real fast. Maybe not. But this was a slow burn. It was really super cute. Music producer, stripper, best friends. They bond over like feeding each other, and like this friendship gets deep real fast. Well, actually real slow through the book. But I liked it. And it's one of my faves from the year. I probably wouldn't reread it, but it was a good read. It was really good. Okay. And then, y'all, we have come to the end of the road of my 24 books in no particular order that I liked in 2024. Okay. When I Think of You by Maya Ariel was really good. So these two kids meet at NYU in film school, and they have like not a sword affair, but they kind of have like a young love, like we like each other type thing. And like they get pulled apart, but then they reconnect as adults. And now he's like a famous movie producer, and she's like an assistant. And he's like, what are you doing? You're more creative than this. And then he makes it so that she could work on his project. And of course, mess ensues. But I do think that it was well written. I loved the cover. The characters were memorable, and their love was palatable on the page. I think that's why I put it on the list, because their love was actually like palatable. I could feel it. Woo. Okay. Y'all, 2024 was an interesting year. But we made it. We made it. And if you have made it to the end of this video, please drop a stack of books down in the chat and let me know if you read any of these books. Are you adding any of these books to your list? Again, this list was in no particular order. These are just books that I liked throughout the year. I'm really pushing myself this year to read a little differently. I'm trying not to be so much of a mood reader, but I probably will go back to my terrible ways and just read what I want, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm trying to read more nonfiction this year. I'm trying to DNF books that I don't like, so that I can just be like, I didn't like that, I don't have to read it. Yeah, that's it. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, y'all. Y'all are rocking with me. I'm rocking with y'all. I can't wait until we do this again. Stay tuned, because today also I will be dropping my favorite book bows of the year. I changed it. It's not gonna be book boyfriends. It's book bows, right? BAUX. I kind of like that better. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and until next time, you guys.